We have new information tonight on the corruption investigation going on in South Suburban Dalton. NBC5 has now confirmed that federal agents served 2 subpoenas at Village Hall. Our Regina Waldroup is on this story. She takes a deeper look tonight at the records authorities have requested and what's next.
2 separate grand jury subpoenas served Friday by the FBI at Dalton's Village Hall. We reached out to Renato Mariotti, a former federal prosecutor, to see what this could mean.
It certainly looks like the feds have something. They're not just fishing.
The subpoenas were given to NBC5 by a source close to the investigation. One requests personnel and disciplinary files for almost 30 individuals. The other requests all documents related to village administrator Keith Freeman and some companies he's involved with. Freeman was indicted last week. Federal authorities accuse him of making false statements and underreporting income in his bankruptcy petition. The village has declined to comment.
I think that the feds are trying to build a public corruption case in Dalton. They, recently indicted the village administrator. I would not be surprised if he's cooperating with law enforcement.
Mariotti says more subpoenas could be on the way.
That's why they're shaking the tree, so to speak, with these grand jury subpoenas. And so I think what's going to happen is the feds are going to see if the tree shaking yields some fruit.
Dalton's government is marred in accusations of misspending, lawsuits, and probes. Mayor Tiffany Henyard and trustee Andrew Holmes are both the focus of a civil lawsuit brought by Henyard's former assistant and a Dalton police officer. The lawsuit accuses Holmes of assault and battery and Henyard of retaliation. 4 Dalton trustees recently appointed Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former mayor and a former federal prosecutor, as a special investigator. The trustees have also sent a letter to the Attorney General's office calling on him to investigate the mayor for violating the Open Meetings Act.
Perhaps this is the relief that the village has been looking for a couple years now, and that is to stop the bleeding.
May 13th at 9:30, the custodian of records for the village told to bring those documents and also be prepared to testify before a grand jury. In Dalton, I'm Regina Waldroup, NBC5 News.
Thanks to Regina.
And we have some new developments on a suburban government that's mired in accusations of scandal. The mayor of Dalton is already under investigation, and there are allegations of misconduct surrounding an official trip to Las Vegas. Well, now a top administrator is facing fraud charges. Regina Waldroup explains.
Trustee Andrew Holmes?
No.
Several high-level officials in South Suburban Dalton facing a rush of lawsuits and investigations. Federal prosecutors accuse Keith Freeman of making false statements in his bankruptcy petition. Freeman currently serves as village administrator and as municipality manager of Thornton Township.
There has been several times that we have gone back and forth and we have talked about being able to get past all of this.
The indictment alleges that Freeman made several false statements and omissions in the bankruptcy petition filed in January. It says he knowingly underreported income he derived from his employment, as well as fees he received from his private consulting business. Freeman has not been arraigned, and the village declined to comment. This latest legal issue comes days after a civil lawsuit was filed against Mayor Tiffany Henyard and trustee Andrew Holmes, who is a well-known community activist. It was filed by the mayor's former assistant and a Dalton police officer. The lawsuit accuses Holmes of assault and battery and Henyard of retaliation. The incidents allegedly occurred during and after an economic development trip to Las Vegas last May.
Having done the motion, we have a second.
Days ago, 4 Dalton trustees appointed Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former mayor and a former federal prosecutor, as a special investigator to look into the Vegas trip and allegations of misappropriation and misspending by the mayor. But the village attorney in a letter writes, trustees completely lack the authority to appoint Lightfoot as additional legislative counsel. It goes on to say the mayor will not be approving any payments to Lightfoot because her appointment violates the law. Regina Waldroup, NBC5 News.
Regina, thank you. Let's get right to that breaking news. There is more drama in Dalton tonight. We have learned FBI agents were at the Village Hall this afternoon. All this amid those ongoing investigations into corruption involving Mayor Tiffany Henyard. NBC5's Natalie Martinez live in Dalton tonight with the breaking details. Natalie?
We are just outside Village Hall, and certainly there are a lot of questions out here, Stefan, but let me tell you about what we know, and that is that a handful of FBI agents showed up to this area earlier today. What is not clear is exactly why. Now, here's another statement in part that we got from the FBI saying that the FBI was conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity in that area today. Department of Justice policy prevents the FBI from commenting on the nature of any investigation that may be occurring. Now, we know Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard has been the focus of NBC5 investigations for weeks, and that several high-level officials do face lawsuits, including one surrounding a business trip to Las Vegas that happened last May. A top administrator is now facing fraud charges. The village administrator, Keith Freeman, is accused of several false statements regarding income and fees from a private consulting firm. And Chicago's former mayor, Lori Lightfoot, was hired as a special investigator in several of these issues. Now, in recent weeks, doors here have been locked, only allowing a few people inside the building at any time to conduct business. But village trustees that we spoke to, one in particular who we just spoke to, tells me this is a relief.
I'm feeling a sigh of relief. For the last 3 years, myself, the board members, and the residents have been feeling like no one was coming to save us in regards to providing us with the information that we need to make decisions regarding our finances with the village. So today I feel as if we're maybe one step closer to having some of the answers.
That trustee believes that subpoenas are involved, but again, I want to reiterate that is not entirely clear what exactly the FBI activity was involved with. The FBI activity itself is enough to get tongues wagging here. Lots of people outside, I should say about a dozen people outside, that is constituents and people who live in the area, wondering what is going on. We do expect to speak to another trustee a little bit later tonight. We'll have more for you coming your way at 10 o'clock. For now, we're live in Dalton. Natalie Martinez, NBC5 News.
So much more to come. All right, Natalie, thank you very much.
Let's talk about the corruption claims in South suburban Dalton. Apparently, they're getting the attention of the FBI. Federal agents were seen entering Village Hall today in what the Bureau calls a court-ordered law enforcement activity. NBC5's Natalie Martinez live tonight in Dalton talking to village trustees about this surprise search. Natalie?
Stefan, those trustees say their cries have been answered, and now they're asking for a new administration. What exactly brought the FBI to Dalton Village Hall Friday is not clear, but trustees we spoke to clearly feel relief.
The sun is shining today, and this is a good day for the residents of Dalton.
For the last 3 years, myself, the board members, and the residents have been feeling like no one was coming to save us.
My phone just went ballistic. Calls, and calls. They said that the FBI is at Village Hall. I'm like, oh my God. Someone has finally answered our cry.
That someone is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A spokesperson says in a statement that the FBI was conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity in that area today. Department of Justice policy prevents the FBI from commenting on the nature of any investigation that may be occurring.
2 subpoenas was dispersed today.
I'm sure it's connected to what we've been talking about lately, how tax dollars are being spent recklessly.
Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard and trustee Andrew Holmes are the focus of a civil lawsuit. It accuses Holmes of assault and Henyard of retaliation, stemming from incidents involving an economic development trip to Las Vegas last May. This week, village administrator Keith Freeman was charged in federal court with bankruptcy fraud. Chicago's former mayor and former federal prosecutor Lori Lightfoot has been hired to lead an independent investigation into the Vegas trip and more.
We are the gatekeepers of the funds that come into this village. And we're not being allowed to see what's going on with our tax dollars.
So we reached out to the village and to the mayor for comment late tonight. Earlier tonight, though, we did get an email statement, and it said very clearly there was no FBI raid at Village Hall. No further comment at this time. We are live in Dalton. Natalie Martinez, NBC5 News.
Okay, we'll be following all of the developments there in Dalton. Natalie, thank you so much.